Welcome back to the news at 10. The Joint Operation Task Team for the Enforcement of Presidential Lockdown Order on COVID-19 in the Federal Capital Territory has impounded over 100 vehicles, tricycles and motorcycles for violating the Presidential Lockdown Directive aimed at containing the spread of COVID-19. FCT Commissioner for Police Bala Chiroma warns that any car, tricycle or motorcycle impounded for violating the subsisting presidential order shall remain in police custody until the 14 days lockdown order is lifted by the federal government.
This has led us to move out and ensure that there is total compliance, except those on the exemption list. All other persons that come out in violations of the directives given, we'll ensure we get them and bring them to book. For the past 2 days, we've descended heavily on defaulters. And so far, so good, we've been able to impound about 146 vehicles. We've impounded 46 motorcycles and about 9 keke napeps.
Despite the increasing number of cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, the Niger State government is softening on some of the measures that it had taken to curb the spread of the virus. The lockdown has been relaxed and will now be observed from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. as against the initial 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. declared by the state government. The secretary to the state government and chairman of Niger State's task force on COVID-19, Ahmed Matane, says markets in the state will now operate from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Niger State government relaxes the curfew imposed on the state from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. beginning from today, 5th April 2020. Markets will begin to open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. to enable people to buy foodstuffs and other essentials. Government had earlier imposed curfew from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight following residents' non-compliance to the sit-at-home order, as well as nonchalant attitude of some people towards the prevention of COVID-19 in the state. Civil servants on grade level 1 and to 12 earlier directed to stay at home as part of measures taken by government to curb the spread of COVID-19 are now to resume work on Monday, 6th April 2020 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Intra and interstate movement of people and vehicles across the state remain banned.
No. Meanwhile, the Benue state government has ordered a post-mortem examination on a deceased footballer suspected to have died of COVID-19 on Sunday while being evacuated from the state to Abuja for treatment. The State Commissioner for Information, Ngunan Andingi, also debunked the rumor that the patient died of coronavirus, noting that the matter remains inconclusive until a post-mortem test is conducted. Channels Television has gathered that the deceased was a footballer who returned from Ghana about 7 days ago and self-isolated at his village in Idumoga, Opoku, local government area of Benue State, but became critically ill and was referred by a local hospital to the state isolation center. The family, however, decided to evacuate him to Abuja instead. In Ebonyi State, the fumigation of markets and other public facilities has commenced as part of measures to prevent the coronavirus disease and other epidemics in the state. The state deputy governor, Kelechi Igwe, says the exercise is necessary to disinfect public places in the state to reduce the risk of contracting the virus. He appeals to residents to maintain environmental hygiene and take other precautionary measures to contain the spread of the coronavirus.
Since the outbreak of this global malaise called COVID-19, the governor and the government of Ebonyi State took proactive steps to ensure that this global malaise is kept far away from Ebonyi State. What we are about to flag off today is one in the series of the proactive steps taken by the governor and this administration to ensure that COVID-19 is not in any part of Benue State recorded as an incident.
The chairman, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has received 5 ambulances as part of the ongoing intervention by the oil and gas industry led by the NNPC. At the presentation, which held in Abuja during a tour of an isolation center, also being undertaken by the NNPC, Mr. Mustafa said Nigeria is only preempting a situation of an upsurge in COVID-19 victims by building isolation centers.
Stepping out quickly owing to the urgency of the times we live in, the Minister of State Petroleum, Tim Silva, the Chairman Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, joins the Group Managing Director, Mele Kyari, on the inspection of a 190-bed isolation center in Abuja, still under construction. Just last week, the GMD announced an oil and gas industry intervention initiative to combat coronavirus. Initially put at an 11 billion naira intervention and now scaled up to 21 billion, this dome, used severally in the past for big musical gigs, is now to be sacrificed for these desperate times.
Our hope is that we will never need this. If it does come to a situation where we need it, this place will be adequate and available to house 190 patients at any one time.
While that is ongoing, 5 ambulances have been delivered already on this occasion to the SGF as part of the many other items built for the fight.
And on behalf of the oil industry, on behalf of NNPC, I hereby hand over all the ambulances that we've been able to put together. We are still getting more. This is an ongoing effort, as the GMD said, so any other additional contribution that we get will be handed over. And on behalf of the industry, I hand over everything to the chairman of the...
It is better that we get prepared and get over-prepared than not to prepare at all.
Medical consumables, logistics and inpatient support system, and medical infrastructure are the 3 thematic areas of the 21 billion intervention led by the State Oil Corporation, in addition to at least 2 permanent hospitals and a world-class diagnostic center to be built in each of the geopolitical zones in the country. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
We're in Cross River State, where the government has begun mass production and distribution of nose and mouth masks free of charge to residents. This follows an executive order by the state governor, Professor Benue, that no one be allowed in public places without wearing one of these. Shortly after inspecting the ongoing production of the masks at the factory in Calabar, the state capital, the governor said besides flattening the curve of COVID-19, the gesture is also a way of reducing the burden of prevention.
In an attempt to protect lives, we don't also want to dislocate livelihoods at extreme levels. So we allow people to move with their nose mask so that they can at least go about their businesses respecting industrial and social distances. So as a governor who is in the middle of Cameroon infected, my neighboring states infected, only Cross River has 0 confirmed cases as of today, it is my responsibility to adopt, devise all known methods, an amalgam of all the techniques that are available to me to ensure that I guarantee security and lives of my people. Cross River State is so prepared and committed to ensure that at the fullness of time, when this plague comes and goes, Cross River would have had a 0 incident. Just to show you how prepared we are as a state in readiness to fight this virus. And I'm happy that the government factory is properly charged, fully prepared, respecting industrial distances, and they are mass producing in order to supply to the public. We are supplying the mask at no cost, and of course, as we do this, we are doing so because we know that even if a nose mask was just 100 naira, some people can't afford that on a daily basis to keep replacing daily.
7 days ago, President Muhammadu Buhari announced new measures to manage the coronavirus pandemic in the country. Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, have seen significant reduction in business activities, but there has also been significant reduction in the question is, has there been significant reduction in the number of cases? To answer these, Channels TV's information analyst, Mr. Babajide Ogusowo, joins us now on the news at 10. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So the president announced this, last week, and I know the state governments have been doing what they can, to as per measures to contain the coronavirus. Do you think that the curve is flattening? Can we see some glimmer of hope, perhaps?
We've seen thousands of deaths, but we've seen many more thousands of people that have survived. So globally, 94% of those that have the virus are still alive. But tonight, I would like to quickly talk about three things. The first is to review the global situation. The second is to look at the Nigerian situation. And third and finally, if we have some time, my advice. Now, globally, let's start with that. There are over 1.2 million cases today. The top three countries, the United States, Italy, and Spain, these three countries account for approximately half of all global cases. Now, the final thing is, Africa is looking like the safest place in the world. Less than 1% of the global cases are in Africa, but we see the numbers rising in Africa. That's the first thing. That is the global situation. Yeah. I would like to talk about the Nigerian situation. Tonight, we've seen the number of cases increase. We now have 232 cases. Sadly, 5 deaths. Today, is day 38. The first case in Nigeria was announced on the 27th of February, 38 days ago. But here's the right question, Amarachi. What else has happened in Nigeria in the last 38 days? Let's think about it. And the evidence we have today shows that every 38 days, 10,000 Nigerians die of diarrhea. Every 38 days, 12,000 Nigerians die of malaria. And every 38 days, another 170,000 Nigerians enter extreme poverty.
Where are you getting this data from?
It's from the National Bureau of Statistics, But make no mistakes. Here's what I mean. The coronavirus is a big problem in Nigeria, but Nigeria has bigger problems. And so while we focus on the coronavirus, there are also a lot of things that the government needs to focus on.
But let's focus on the coronavirus tonight. Do you think that the measures implemented so far have been effective?
It depends on how you look at it. There are two ways we could look at this. The first, we could look at it from those that are affected. And what do I mean? Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory, based on the president's speech in the last 7 days, we've seen a lockdown. But the right question is, who are those that are most affected by the lockdown? It's not really those that have full-time jobs. It is those that have part-time jobs. And again, the evidence from the NBS shows that we have 1.5 million Nigerians with part-time jobs in Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory. For those people, it is not just a lockdown. They are being changed down and they want to get out. That is one perspective. Now, the other perspective, Amarachi, is to look at it from the president's directive. And we need to look at how many cases did we have 1 week before the president made the speech? And how many cases do we have now? It's 1 week after the speech. So let's take a look at the chart of the week, because that explains everything to find out if these measures have been effective. And from the evidence we have, I'd like to spend a bit of time on each state. Lagos. Let's start with Lagos. A week before the president made his directive, Sunday, the 22nd of March, Lagos had 19 cases. A week after, when the president made his speech, 120 cases. In between, we see when the president made his speech, 68 cases. What does this mean? 19 to 68 is a 258% growth. 68 to 120 is 76% growth. In other words, the rate of growth of the virus in Lagos has significantly declined. Let's look at what is happening in Abuja. A week before the president's speech, Abuja had only 4 cases. The night the president made the speech, Abuja had 21 cases. It's a week after, Abuja now has 47 cases. What does this mean? Between 4 and 21 cases, that's a growth of 425%. Now let's look at the number of cases 21 to 47. That's just 123% growth. Again, we've seen a significant decline in the rate of growth of cases, new cases in Abuja. And finally, Ogun State. 2 cases a week before the president's speech. On the night of the president's speech, 3 cases. Tonight, 4 cases. Between 2 and 3 cases, that's a 50% growth. 3 to 4 cases, that's a 33% growth. So in these 3 places, we've seen a lockdown. The summary is we've seen a significant decline in the rate of growth of new cases. So from that perspective, yes, there's a need for us to continue the lockdown because it means that the rate of growth, if we continue, could further decline. But don't forget, we have 1.5 million people living in these 3 states with part-time jobs. And for them, this is not just a lockdown, it's a chain down. But in the final analysis, you know what they say? Let's hope for the best, but let's plan and prepare for the worst.
Thanks again for crunching those numbers for us on the News at 10. This is why we have you here. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Still ahead on the News at 10, Queen Elizabeth makes a rare broadcast on COVID-19, gives assurance that better days will return for everyone to be friends again in these trying times. Plus, football governing body FIFA to deal with complaints and appeals over wage cuts for players by clubs looking to cut costs during stoppage caused by COVID-19 pandemic. We'll have more in sports news. Stay with us.